Hey, good Thursday. Yeah, it is the 5th. We took yesterday off, but we're working here today. Thank you, producers. Welcome to the HammerFist podcast here at MMA Fight Pass. I'm here with my sidekick, the Anaconda, Tom Owens. Welcome. And since we're in Selma, we want to give a shout out to Spike and Rail. And also, we got the gang here at the Selma Youth Wrestling team, man. And we're going to have a hell of an hour, man. Any questions? Even if you're online, watching us online, if you want to put questions on there on that feed to ask them, go ahead and do it. We're going to go ahead and, like I said, this is the Selma Youth Wrestling coaches. And we're going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Onesimo Lopez, team president and coach.
I'm Robert Sepulveda. I'm the vice president and coach.
I'm Ishmael Quintana, and I'm the wrestling coach.
All right, guys. Hey, you know, we're kind of like in a little network where we hear a lot about the combat sports out there, but a lot of the guys out there that are listening, you know, because we got our common fans just like anybody else, they've heard about Selma Wrestling. I mean, here in the Valley, you do, but outside this, because this voice goes far beyond the Valley. Tell us about your program, man. How can kids get in it, or is, you know, anything? Just let us know. It's your day.
You want to take that?
So Selma Wrestling, just a little history about it is Selma Wrestling is really well known out in the area. It's been around forever. In the late 90s, the club scene got a little more serious. A couple of guys in the area put a little more focus on it. So they started to gather their kids and their friends of their kids and started garage training them, and it kind of just turned into this episode of what it is today. Nowadays, we have a facility down in downtown Selma. It's 5,000 square foot, and we rent it. And in order to do that, we pay some fees, or we rent it, and kids pay fees to be a part of our club. Because there's a little bit of an overhead cost, it kind of forces us to open the doors to kids close to the area. But people want Selma training, and they've, because of the history and what we have, they've learned to kind of embrace it, and I think they kind of feel like there's a secret out here.
Hey, I know I've been here through the years that I've been here. I've heard a lot of positive things. I mean, I know people that have left a different town and came here and put down their roots, and well, in time we're seeing the history change a little bit. But have you guys, you know, the funding, it's kind of hard, especially when you're a private type club, now that you're opening up the doors. Have you had any conversations with like the police department, any of those, like American Legion? I don't know if there is one there, you know, kind of mainly some kind of after school things for some of these kids that, because I know down in Tulare, we have programs for some of these kids that try to get a little bit positive back into the kid versus the streets, you know, type. So you have anything going like that yet, or?
No, it's something we've always talked about. We do enough. We get by with what we do.
Because you get grants, man, for stuff like that.
I know, but
You don't know how to go about getting to it?
Right,
About
yeah.
going-
You gotta have a guy.
You know
that
what,
goes
I'll
deep
give you my
into that.
number, and we could,
Okay.
I used to be the PAL coach, Delano PAL, for years, and, you know, and helping out here in Tulare and stuff like that too. But yeah, there's no reason why. You guys already invested so much time. You have a legacy that's following you. Positive foundation from the kids that I've seen, positive images and stuff like that. You got kids that are probably, a lot of them are going to go to college. You know, I don't know what year you want to pick, but I'm sure they're standing in line.
Oh yeah, a lot of them are going to college.
So,
right now, as we
I mean,
said.
what better resume to have than that when you go to grants, and that's what they want, an investment of something positive, what you're going to give back to the community. And you guys are doing it out of own pocket. Yeah, parents contribute, but local businessmen contribute, but the community is about that. I don't know if Selma has a PAL or not.
No,
But if they
I
do,
don't believe
there's grants for stuff like that too. Because I know there's somebody on the PD department.
Definitely.
I worked for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department for 25 years, and I was an investigator, and I came down here. There's a lot of guys that are into wrestling.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I'll look into that and see, because there's no reason why. Is that little place still right across the street from there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Mainly our income comes from memberships and fundraisers.
Yeah, see, and
You
stuff
guys do a
like
lot of
that, and you're gonna
fundraising?
have them regardless.
Yeah, we throw a big tournament.
Yeah.
We hold some big tournaments throughout the season.
With scholarships, have you guys had a few students already? I'm sure quite a few.
Oh, we've
quite
had
that
quite a
have-
few that have
Our,
gotten scholarships.
our graduating class this year put 7 kids in college.
Oh, really?
Wow,
on
look at that, man.
scholarships.
See, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And more to come. There's
Yeah,
more to
that's,
come.
Have you three been involved with this for a long time? Since the beginning?
Forever.
Yeah?
yeah.
Listen, forever.
Yeah,
For me,
I'm-
for
See,
about
they're
30 years.
testimonials, man.
Yeah,
of it.
46
I started-
probably
so-
since I've been about 28 years.
And you guys have been wrestling since childhood?
Since 8.
yeah, I'm born and raised here, so.
Yeah, same here.
so
Who got you guys into it? No, you guys aren't related, right? You just know
No.
each other?
No.
You're pretty much family, though.
Yeah.
When you're on the mat and you share the mat with people.
We all grew up together. We all, since we.
Yeah, actually, I started wrestling when I was 9 years old, and Ishmael was assistant coach to Coach Haskell Henson back then. So he was one of my first instructors and coaches, and that kind of turned into like a older brother type of relationship. He would take me to tournaments when my father couldn't.
You guys
And-
mentioned garage training, so back in the day, was that how it was? Were you guys in
Yeah.
in
Well,
a small little garage or
you know,
something, or?
Well, from the beginning, what it was is there was a little lapse because my dad and my cousin were the original president and coach at the time, and there was a little bit of a lapse there where we kind of died off. And what happened was my other cousin, everybody's related here.
Yeah.
My other cousin started his little garage training, and like they said, it flourished. More and more kids want to join.
Yeah.
Before they knew it, they were back in the high school, they were back in the junior high. But we've always had the junior high program, so there's always been, like I said, but the youth kind of lapsed there a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it's all going strong now. Now we're back to where we started.
That's awesome, man.
So these guys are probably like the Sandlot version, but for wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to say we're the club is there's the high school,
Yeah.
Selma High, there's Abraham Lincoln and Roosevelt back in the day, but we're the club. We're Selma Youth Wrestling / Team Selma.
So do like any of the junior high school wrestlers or high school, anybody can come train with you? Not
Yeah.
anybody,
Right,
but you know what I mean?
right.
The
No,
Selma.
absolutely.
And how young do they start?
They started as early as 5.
Wow. Is there a lot of kids that young doing it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've seen some 4-year-olds this year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, kids are getting younger and younger, which
Yeah.
encourages parents to take their time, but everybody wants to get a head start on this thing. Everybody sees the success, and so.
I was looking at I was watching footage earlier. I might butcher her name, Alida?
Aleda.
Aleda? Okay, now she was a student?
She was, yeah.
She came up through the
Man,
program.
something else. Really something else. Now, she was abducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame?
This past year.
Recently, I believe so.
Yeah, just this past year.
Recently.
That's phenomenal, man. How many people around this area have done that?
Not too many.
Nah.
She's one of the few.
Is that pretty tough to get in
Yeah.
there, or what?
Yeah, there's a couple from Selma, but she's special.
What does it take to do that, besides the
Being
grit?
4-time state champion.
I mean,
like her.
Oh, yeah,
accolades,
4-time
yeah.
state champion.
Yeah.
That's
and silver world
And a
medalist.
silver gold medal.
Is it co-ed? Or they just?
No.
Is nowadays
Well,
it's just,
Originally, the way it started was girls had to compete with the boys, but over time, it grew so big
Yeah.
that they splintered them and offered the girls their own competition.
yeah, I saw her in a match against a girl from Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
It was on YouTube today. Casey, I think her name was. Maybe a blonde-headed girl. Man, she's rough.
Oh, she's pretty tough.
She's
her
rough,
base-
man.
Well, see, remember how you talk about the split at first? When she started with the boys.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
she's really
Yeah,
that's
she's
her
putting that
base.
head into
That's
the
her
mat.
solid. Yeah. So wrestling the girls to her was became easy.
Yeah,
That's
on-
crazy.
On top of being an undefeated 4-time high school state champ, she's got several national championships, like 4 or so.
Competed in the
And
road,
then she's a
like,
world
twice.
team
I think she's
member.
like a
world
bronze
place-
and a silver medalist.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. So, can you explain that briefly? Like, how does it work from the nationals to get up to the worlds? What
Well,
tournaments do you have to go
you've
through?
heard of
Stage?
You've heard of Olympic wrestling, right?
Right, right.
Okay, well, Olympic wrestling, there's two forms. There's Greco and freestyle.
Freestyle?
And high school is what they call, and junior high is what they call collegiate. It's its own system. It's its own wrestling. The
Okay.
rules are different. But as you come up and you go through college and you get scholarships and you wrestle all the way through college, a lot of people, go into the Olympic training center. You know, some specialize in Greco, some specialize in freestyle. But a lot of them at the time with with our club, they can wrestle freestyle and Greco and participate even while they're in the youth. So that way they're still staying familiar with the Greco and freestyle, but they're also wrestling collegiate. And what it is for the highest form of would be a state champion and then a national champion for folk style collegiate wrestling. And then they offer for freestyle, they have the national and worlds.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can compete in those competitions that are just as good, you know.
Do you
but
have to
it's-
qualify to get into the
Yes,
nationals?
you do. All those you
So
have
you've
to.
had to have been a state champion?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, USA Wrestling hosts events, right? And so they start at state, and if they qualify, they go to nationals, and if they qualify at nationals, then they go to worlds.
They have a
You
world
guys
trials
just
team.
came from the Worlds? Is that what just took place?
We had a member,
We had one team member.
And who was this?
Richard Figueroa.
That was Richard Figueroa, okay. Wow, man, he's phenomenal too. I was watching his matches, who was he fighting? Because I thought it was a great match. And I think this is recent. Joey Cruz?
Oh, yeah.
Joey Cruz, but there was a different one against, it was the Flow National? What was that all about? What's
Joey
the Flow
Cruz.
National?
Flow Nationals is, what it was is, after the high school state championships, they have a Virginia National Championships and Flow Nationals National Championships. They're both competing to be the nationals.
Oh, okay.
But all the studs and state champions go to both. So either one, I mean, you're still gonna meet great competition. And that's where Joey and Richard wrestled in the Flow Nationals.
Yeah, oh, man, he's got some, Richard has some defense.
Just so
boy.
you know, and everybody else, Joey's from our program too.
Yeah, the guy was, the commentator was talking about that. So they looked like they had wrestled each other before.
They grew up wrestling in our system.
Yeah, boy, Joey, he's like a pit bull on that leg, man.
Yeah.
And Richard, I was just watching it, man, and just, if MMA guys had that kind of takedown defense, very few do. Very few do. But yeah, pretty phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
So how old is that kid?
Which one?
Richard?
16?
16, I believe.
16?
Yeah, 16 years
And
old.
what's next for him?
I still think he's eligible for some more, because for his age group right now is cadets. I still think he's still eligible for cadets for next year.
Wow. I'm not 100% sure, but I know Fargo Nationals is coming up, and that's Freestyle and Greco Nationals. That should be taking place in about 10 days. And we have a few members that'll head out there. I think Richard might be in that group. But when you're a world team member, you're at the pinnacle of what
So when they go
what
to
it's supposed to be.
when they go to world team member, are you guys you're still coaching them, but they're on a team with
Now they're
different
part
guys
of
from all over, or
Team
what?
USA, so
Okay.
they're
They
USA
have their own
coaches.
camps. They have their own wrestling camps.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So where do they go for that?
I believe Kevin Jackson is.
Kevin Jackson
the
is
head
their head coach.
And they take them to a facility where they train them specifically.
Ah.
Like they have the Olympic training centers in
Yeah.
Colorado. They have their own little training
Wow,
camp.
that's
That's
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah,
At that
there's
young age.
regional training centers now, like at Fresno State.
I thought I heard that we were building some kind of big wrestling
Well,
thing.
we
What
were
happened with
supposed to
that?
have one in Tulare, and then I don't know what
It
happened.
fell through or what?
Yeah, it never fell through.
Yeah, it never happened. That's what everybody was asking me. Jeremy had been asking me, hey, dude, what's going on with it?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. It was there, and then someone
Sounded
else
great.
had more money and brought that property. It was already going to be donated to them. So it's just politics, man. You know, unfortunately, and who loses the kids, you know, that kind of stuff. How do you guys feel now that Fresno State's getting back in gear, man?
Yeah, the
Right in your backyard?
revitalization of Fresno
Yeah,
State.
yeah.
That's actually helped quite a bit. Coach Steiner and his staff are real big on freestyle and Greco. So they actually have a regional training center. So it's a area, and focus group is within 200 miles of our area. My son's actually there right now at that training center practicing and preparing for Fargo.
See, that's
So-
kind of cool, man. I know. I was wondering why, well, I mean, again, too, politics and budgets and stuff cut
Yeah.
back, why they lost that program, but they were, through the years, man, they were really fierce, and when they took that away, it was like,
Yeah.
wow, you know? Everybody focuses on football. They spend so much money on that, which probably makes their most money, and then basketball, too, but then, well, we're both those programs.
So we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate. We have two good coaches, Israel Silva and
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Coach
Yeah.
Chamberlain,
We're lucky.
Jason
We're lucky.
Chamberlain is
Jason
a
Chamberlain,
monster.
And Joe Cologne.
Joe Cologne.
Cologne.
You
I mean,
just can
wow.
go
These
on
are guys
and
that
on.
were wrestlers, of course, himself, like high
Cologne was
level.
All-American
Oh, yeah.
in NCAA.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Chamberlain, NCAA All-American.
Joe Cologne
almost
was-
made the world team, both of them.
Yeah,
Both
Joe
of them.
Cologne was one match away from making the world team, so.
As well as Jason Chamberlain.
Yeah, Jason Chamberlain. So our kids are now being exposed to that a little closer. Those are the next level of coaching.
We have some
it's,
phenomenal coaching
it's
here at
within,
Federal State.
driving distance, so.
What kind of feedback have you got from those coaches on your kids that you're putting out?
They love what we do. They talk
Makes
about
their
how
job a
tough,
little bit easier.
Yeah, how tough Selma kids are.
Yeah.
We were actually
Yeah.
working with Izzy's twin boys. He has some young boys that are
Yeah.
about like 9, 10.
9.
And that was the thing is he wanted to get them toughened up in Selma. So mom was driving them down south to us, and it lasted a little while, and we kind of did our part, but it's like I said, people think that there's a secret here.
Hey.
Every kid that comes out of Selma somehow got a little chip on their shoulder. So.
Talking about secret, we got a question from a fan, actually, Bernie Carrasco. He's asking, why are the Selma boys so badass?
I think it's pride, it's tradition,
in the water.
history.
It's in the water.
There's
It sells tacos.
yeah.
And we got great parents
It's in
that
the
help
grapes.
out.
It's in the grapes.
There you go.
It's unacceptable to get scored on in this town. Everybody's yelling at you for giving up points or something.
And it's the Central Valley, there's nothing else to do. You could
Yeah.
either be a gangbanger, a drug
Yeah.
dealer, or get try wrestling or
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu.
and it helps, especially now where society, all we hear about is bullies and stuff like that. I mean, I was growing up as a kid, I know we did wrestling and then football and stuff like that, but I never really got in fights, maybe because of that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But you
your
figure
energy in a positive
either
place.
play baseball or basketball or track, and those guys are always getting beat up. But it was just something about the other one, and they could
Yeah,
kind
we
of
just
tell
football
what you
players
did.
are the wrestlers.
You could go to a party, and they kind of knew what you did already. It's funny, and it's still, I see that here. That's why I laugh, and my wife goes, "What do you laugh?" I go, "I bet you that kid wrestled."
You can
I go,
tell.
just the way the
You
guy
can
Tell,
walks.
wrestlers just carry themselves in a different way.
Yeah,
There's
they got a
different
little
type of
swag.
confidence.
Yeah.
I always noticed in the gym when I was training for fights, like wrestlers we'd always get wrestlers in, wanting to fight or just help out or do jiu-jitsu or whatever. But they were always they're just always the quickest learners. They're the toughest dudes to roll with. They'll stay there the latest. You know what I mean? They'll drill. They're not the guy that drills a couple times and stops and starts talking. What is it about wrestling? Because I know it's not for everybody. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody.
it's
It's
not.
a certain
I'll
type
tell
of
you
person
one
that can
word.
do
I'll
it.
tell you one word: discipline, repetition.
And most people can't handle
They
it.
can't handle it.
Yeah. The intensified environment that we put kids in here.
You
in
get a
town.
lot of people coming in and doing it for a little while.
Yeah,
That's it?
I mean, it's really hard to be a part of Selma. In period, you're getting put in a room where your practice partners may be, 3-time state champions, and they're 7, 8 years old. That's pretty tough. We talked about Richard and Joey Cruz. There's a kid named Kimo Leah, and that was a group for years. All 3 of those guys are national champions. And that was a workout group. So imagine
yeah.
if you brought your kid that happened to weigh around their
They
weight.
quit.
He would,
They would quit.
yeah, he was wrestling lions.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
poor kid.
Swimming with the
Yeah.
sharks right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Swimming in there with the sharks.
Yep.
Hey guys, we got another question from a fan out there. They're asking, how much are the club fees to get in for first-time kids?
Good question.
We have a beginner group, and right now it's $40 a month to start.
Can't beat that.
No. I mean, how much is a daycare or a camp or even, what is it they call that one thing for kids that stay after school? I don't know, but it's pretty expensive. Even when you take your kids, that you let them stay after school.
How much is the
become a
bill for
program.
these things that
Yeah.
everything?
Oh, well, yeah, PlayStation.
This
you
is
know?
all I see nowadays with kids. That's why, like, with wrestling and stuff, and coaches like you, man, I really appreciate it because, man, that's all you see. now.
That's
Yeah.
funny you
Kids.
mention that because right now that is the biggest battle right there.
I'll
Yeah.
bet.
Everybody talks about the millennials and
Yeah.
the new breeds and stuff.
And
like
they're getting weaker and this and that.
this is what we're fighting against right here.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like parents, get your kids involved in something, even if it's not wrestling or jujitsu. Like get them involved.
Get
in
them
something.
active. Yeah, and that's
Baseball,
it.
football, anything,
Yeah.
golf, something. Just get them out.
Do you guys have like a rule in the gym, like
Actually, they don't
No.
bring them. They don't bring them.
That's good.
They don't bring
You
them.
know,
It's
that's
all
awesome.
business. It's all
Good,
business.
good. Do you guys ever get MMA guys coming in, trying to get some wrestling in?
Yeah, we have a few. You know, of course, his boys are involved. Archie's boys. They're,
Yeah.
they're both MMA. They come in and wrestle with us all the time.
Oh,
They practice
right.
with the kids. They're real good. They come and coach.
And what about jujitsu
And,
guys? You ever get jujitsu guys trying to get some takedown? knowledge?
No. Well, a lot of the guys that do come in, they're kind of both. You know, they're wrestling. And
They have,
jiu-jitsu
yeah, they have like that
background.
wrestling foundation or ex members that grew through the program.
What's Sam? You know Sam
Ramirez?
Sam Ramirez.
Yeah,
He comes
yeah.
in. You know,
Nice.
everybody.
There's a few that'll drop in and try to touch up on their skills. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all family, so we.
And you guys
yeah,
are,
come
so
on
if
in.
an MMA guy goes in there,
We
to
work with
train,
them.
do you tell them to just like do some straight wrestling? You know what I mean? 'Cause
No.
you know how guys come in and they want to, well, I've got a fight coming up, so I need to throw punches or whatever. Do you try to get them just doing straight wrestling
No,
drills?
usually when they come in, it's just like if they have a problem, we'll work on it, or just work their takedowns, you know, stuff like that. It's not really like, you know, I'm good at my fist. Like, what do I do? No, usually it's like, hey, I have problems transitioning from this to this, you know, stuff like that. Little stuff. It's nothing big.
Work on the week.
A lot of the guys that do the MMA that we know, they're already from a wrestling background, so
Right,
you
right.
know, it transitions over to MMA right away. So
That's cool.
Yeah,
man.
they, wrestlers that are serious or badass, or not really, okay, I'll take that back, not even badass, but wrestling as a base, even if they're halfway good and they get into jujitsu, those are usually badass.
Oh, they're
Javier
dangerous.
Vasquez
They're-
is a wrestler. Corey,
That's what I was gonna say,
17 years in jujitsu.
It's weird
I mean,
too because like wrestlers, even if they like bad habits in wrestling, like I'm not, you know, whatever you would call a bad habit in wrestling, like it's not really a bad habit in jujitsu. But like jujitsu guys, because I started jujitsu first, so when I went into wrestling, like I had a horrible habit of pulling guard and going to my back or just accepting takedowns to get to my guard.
right.
Just
Just
like to
to
work there,
go
but
down.
Yeah.
so yeah, and I always would get kids like the dad has been wrestling and jujitsu, and sometimes I'd be like, you know, you might want to just keep him into
Yeah.
wrestling. He's got a big wrestling
A
tournament coming
few
up.
years back, we were cross training with the coach here in town, and we were having problems with the kids in that situation.
Going
They were-
guard?
Yeah, they were giving up points.
Yeah.
They were kind of going to their back. That's
So that
like
could be
natural
horrible in
feeling.
wrestling, right? If a kid's
It-
gonna
it-
pull guard.
Yeah, it was difficult to work with when they came in and said, "Oh, they've
Yeah.
been doing jujitsu."
Yeah.
It was hard as a coach to kind of, make adjustments.
break those bad
Bad
habits.
Those are bad habits
They're
to
horrible
us,
habits,
right?
wrestling,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
To
and,
jujitsu.
and that type of, like in a MMA deal, where these guys, get against a wrestler. I mean, wrestler, against the fence and, does his deal. But the main thing what that guy wants, the jiu-jitsu player wants, is get him on his back.
Right.
And that's the biggest, like,
And nowadays, it
thing
doesn't seem
about
to
a
work so
wrestler.
well.
Put him on his back,
Because now it's like the wrestlers have learned the
Oh,
basic
yeah.
defense.
Yeah.
Once wrestlers learn, it's like quick too. It's a quick little turnaround. They'll come into the jiu-jitsu mat, and they might get tapped out a couple times, but like once they learn those simple basics, they turn it around quick. And
Yeah, because they're stronger.
they're stronger. The base is there.
Oh, some of the
You
Super
know
stuff
what I
I
sweet.
noticed too, like the Brazilians now, everybody, they're all practicing their takedowns.
Definitely, yeah.
It's meshing very well now.
Yep.
It's not like it when it, like you said, when it first started, because
Brazilian
I didn't
jiu-jitsu
know,
was
I didn't know
weak
what an armbar
takedowns.
is. Now, a wrestler, they know the
Yeah.
counter, they know what to look for.
Yeah.
But just the opposite for the Brazilians too, they're like, oh, that guy's trying to take me down. I know how to sprawl now. I know how to, you know what I mean? It's meshing very well.
Yeah, it is really something to
It's
see.
evolving. It's evolving.
Yeah.
What
it is.
I feel like I tend to see that wrestlers have more of an aggressive attack style.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu guys are kind of waiting back. But, wrestlers kind of don't give you a chance to
No, some
sit back.
aggressive
They kind of
that
go.
space. If they take
Yeah.
that space and own that space, then 9 out of 10 times they're going to win that fight. Like we got a big fight, coming up Saturday, Cormier and,
man.
and Stipe.
What do you guys think about that?
You know,
What do you
I
think
think it'd be
about
a good
that?
fight. I think it'd
Who
be a good
do you think though? That one.
what do you think would be the keys to victory for that fight? For whoever.
They're both pretty decent, but I
You
think
know-
DC has definitely higher wrestling.
For me, when I see a wrestler versus striker or striker versus wrestler, whatever, it's if you can finish your takedowns and you can get to the position you want to be, which is a good position, you're gonna be hard to beat. You know what I mean? You're gonna take it to him. Now, if the guy to me has a good defense, good foundation in that, then he can stop it. So I'll tell you what, it's gonna all depend on the defense because we already know Cormier has great takedowns.
Yep.
So you're either gonna have to have top-notch defense, or else you better be able to fight off your back.
I
Be very
agree.
good at it.
I agree. I think if DC is able to get in there and take him down and get on top of him a few times, you know, even maybe just one time could turn that whole fight around.
Right. Right.
It's gonna be interesting.
Right.
It's gonna be good. Hopefully, it lives up to the bill.
But I never count anybody out.
No, you can't.
anything
One hitter
happen.
quitters, one hitter quitters, never count anybody out, you know?
That's true, too.
Stipe he's impressed me every time, because I always think the guy's, you know what I mean, I always think the guy's gonna get him, and he proves me wrong. So, who's in the co-main event now? I think it's
They
Derek
moved
Lewis
up
now,
the other
right?
heavyweights.
So
Moved
Derek
up.
Lewis and Ngannou?
Yeah, that's gonna be, see, that, both of them don't have no ground. They're just gonna knock somebody out.
I could just see Derek Lewis, because he played football,
Yeah.
he's got,
Oh, that might get an edge right there.
he might
Versus
just
that
take him down,
other guy,
maybe.
Yeah.
The
That
crowd
jury,
won't like it,
yeah.
but it'd be a smart thing
It's
to
got a
do.
lot of haymakers. I think that fight will end in the first round. Comey, someone get knocked out, or they'll gas.
Somebody will.
Because that's usually what
Yeah.
happens. So they're-
If he
those
gasses,
good
you'll be in
fights.
some trouble for sure.
Stuff like that. So what's the next big deal coming up for you guys? Tournament?
Fargo, right?
Yeah, some of our kids like going to Fargo in like another week. That's a big deal.
Where's that at?
That's in North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota. It's
Yeah,
it's
that's a
the
huge-
Freestyle Greco National Championships. It's what they consider one of the highest recruited tournaments to attend. So there's X amount of college coaches floating in the stands.
Oh, yeah?
And there's 30 or so mats out there.
Wow.
3,500
It's-
kids.
It's the granddaddy of tournaments.
Can you
Everything.
watch this stuff live or what?
You
Is there a way
can.
to?
Now you
Is there a
can.
live feed?
Track wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is
Yeah.
it?
Track wrestling?
Track wrestling? That's where you can go, it's a website?
Yeah, nowadays,
All
wrestling, and like everything else, it's evolved to technology. You're able to log in and pick your mat, what mat you want to go to,
They're so
just like,
cool
you know,
about
an
Oh,
admission
wow.
fee, and it's
Yeah.
You can look
amazing.
at the brackets and.
They're doing that with
see
jiu-jitsu
how
now,
they-
it's great.
Yeah, it definitely helps as a parent, and, you know, I
So
mean,
you guys travel all, whenever they go somewhere, you guys are just on the road or what, or fly?
I do a lot of the traveling
Do you?
with the kids. I do road trips. I fly where the major tournaments are.
Do the parents go along with it, with these kids or what?
Some.
Well, a lot of times, and if they can, I mean, if it's financially, it's hard to leave work, like
Yeah.
like a Fargo trip is gonna
Definitely,
be
man.
9 days out of your life, you know, and it's all gonna be wrestling
At least they take
nonstop.
vacation at that time or whatever.
Yeah,
probably,
yeah, so it takes a lot out of a person to, you know, leave town and,
Do you find that some families that are maybe a little lower income, like they have the talented child with a chance to go somewhere like that, and it's hard for them to do it, so how do you guys work around that?
so our club has always been a big help and has always tried to make the financial burden a little bit easier, but because we've kind of inquired expenses with such a bigger facility, it's made it a little harder, you know, since day one, since back when I was a kid, the ultimate goal was to be a financial aid and try to help kids who didn't have the opportunities with, you know, facility, equipment, and travel expenses, because in order to be the best, you got to go out there and compete against the best. So,
I mean, where we live, look where we live, this is a depressed market.
It
you
is.
know, and Selma, oh, come on. you
Yeah.
know. So it's going to be tough, these kids, and, you know, a lot of kids, not just from this area, but come from this kind of lifestyle, are usually those ones that are really good. They just don't have the financial backing.
yeah,
And then-
yeah, definitely.
Then they lose focus on it or get
I
upset.
know a lot of these major tournaments are back east too, so anything for, you know, from Selma, it makes it really hard because Fresno International is kind of expensive to fly out.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
you know, you got to get to LA to fly, you know, to Oklahoma or,
Yeah,
you know,
that's-
just a couple of days ago, we had a kid, he comes and trains with us. He comes from Arizona, and his father drove him to Atlanta. Took third out there at the
Dedication right
Kids
there.
Nationals,
Yeah.
but you got to do what you got to do if you want your kid to be competitive. You know, that's he's now an All-American. You know, and
It's pretty important to travel around and get to these tournaments, right?
oh, definitely,
You
yeah,
wanna
you
You're
get
in
your
that game.
If you
exposure.
want to compete
Right.
and
If you wanna
be-
get
stay-
exposure.
and stay up there and be at that level, yes, it would be ideal to travel the rest of the way.
And it's an investment, especially by then, if you're going to those tournaments, I would think you invest a lot of time in your kid. You know your kid has that opportunity to make it scholarship, whatever, and make a better life for
I think
himself.
we,
So
I
we
think
can
the team
invest.
offers a scholarship too, like for people that have a little bit of trouble
Yeah.
making, you know, the ends meet. We offer scholarships to help them
No,
out. stuff like that.
we hear it thrown around a lot, you know, they're getting a scholarship or whatever. What does that actually mean though? Like if a kid gets a scholarship for wrestling, what does that
Well,
give
for
them?
ours, like for that, we call it a scholarship, but it's basically, it's, you know how we do fundraisers and stuff like that. If a kid we know is really good and he qualifies for the nationals and we know he has a chance of being an All-American and placing, it makes us look good. So we donate, but we call it a scholarship.
What about like a college scholarship though?
We've had several kids, like Robert said, we had up
So
to
what is,
7 kids.
how big is that for somebody if they get that? Is that
Oh,
gonna pay
we've
their
had
way through
kids,
school
we've
or
had
what?
kids, it pays their full rides, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they get, the whole schooling's paid for and
Yeah,
everything, huh?
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing, man.
Yeah, so it's, you know,
That's really a big
that
deal.
I'm saying, the big picture here is these guys here are taking their time, investing a lot of time in these kids for the big picture to help get them out of here, you know?
That's really good,
And
man.
that investment, I mean, it's priceless, man. You can't do that. That's why I said there's a lot of ways that you guys can get help.
Everybody
man.
talks about, in today's day and age, everybody talks about Division I, but there are so many opportunities to
Yeah.
get your college paid for. They have NJCAA, Division III, Division II, Division I, and all these divisions are offering scholarships and financial aid to help these kids go. So you don't have to go Division I anymore to wrestle and get your school paid for. Some of these kids are Division II, Division III, and they're having their scholarships paid for. I mean, their tuition paid for.
And now with the addition of the female wrestling, it's added a lot. You know, it's the fastest growing college sport. So they're, you know,
Female
they're
wrestling
handing.
is?
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
it getting pretty big or what?
Oh, it
Oh,
is.
it's-
They're
So when you
handing
go to a
out.
tournament now, because I remember back in the day going to a few, like you would just see a couple girls
Oh,
matches.
no,
And then of
it's-
course girls going
It's
against
exciting
boys.
now. You know, they have their cadet girls, they have the high school girls, open, I mean, for the Olympics, I mean, they have everything. It's
cool,
everything.
Yeah, girls division
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
grown.
Highly competitive, they're just as good as the men.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah,
They
they're
go
good.
for it. I know
Yeah.
they do. In jiu-jitsu, they go at it.
Yeah.
And MMA, I mean, you're seeing it in MMA as well. The girl fights are great.
Right, let's take a little pause right there. You're listening to MMA Fight Pass, and actually the Hammerfist podcast here at MMA Fight Pass. An awful week of Canada Talk, but we're here live with the gang here at Selma Youth Wrestling at Spike and Rail in Selma, California. If you guys are passing through or in the area, stop in and let them know that you heard about us or heard about you guys on MMA Fight Pass, and they'll give you 15% on anything on that menu. And we're going to take a break, pay a bill, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to MMA Fight Pass. I'm here with the Selma Youth Wrestling coaches. We're going to talk about how to make a shout out probably to some of the people you help, you know, sponsors out there, people that help contribute to your program, also ways that they can contact you if they'd like to contribute to your program.
You want to take that? Go ahead.
Oh, you know, I'll tell you. First of all, my buddy Gerald Hayes, King's Mortgage. He's a manager with King's Mortgage. A couple years back, Gerald did a huge fundraiser in town and donated a good amount of money to us. But it actually helped us generate more money when we throw our tournament. So it helps us buy equipment and wrestling mats. And then now we host a huge tournament every year called New Year's Bash. And with that tournament, that helps generate a good amount of money for us to help the kids.
Yeah.
And it kind of started with Gerald's kids wrestled for us, and then his mortgage company got involved. But he's since then, it's always kind of helped us continue what we do every year because of that big love.
Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy at 559 Fights, one of our good friends. His boy wrestled with us all his life.
Oh, really?
He moved to town.
Chase?
Chase Luchao.
He's
They-
done pretty well, right?
Oh,
Yes, sir. He was one
So-
match away from
awesome.
world team.
Really?
So-
Yeah, he almost
Wow.
made it to the world championship.
How old is he now?
17 years old.
Something like that. I think he just turned 17.
Yeah, so he moved here, and 559 Fights has been a big help to us. 559 Fights, if you get there, you'll notice our logo on the mat. Jeremy's got a lot of pride, and he's always taken, he's the first, one of the first Selma residents to take a step forward in helping. He's really got a
That's
good
cool, man.
understanding of what it takes to get a community together, and so, yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy, he looks out for people, man. He's always
I
looking
mean,
out for
he's
these young
one, he
fighters.
came here and invested. His boys wrestling over out there in Lemoore and doing that, and then he picked up stakes and moved here.
We might see him in the cage later on.
The project.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
those days
Watch
are
out,
done. I
watch-
think
watch
those
out,
days are.
Jeremy.
He's
Hey, watch out if
Yeah.
he's in there. He's a tiger.
Hey, so I'm not, that schooled on wrestling. When you got freestyle, you got Greco, but what is folk? Is folk a mixture of the
Folk
two? Or?
style is back to collegiate style.
Collegiate.
Originally
He
they called
referred to it as collegiate.
Yeah.
Folk style is.
When the collegiate, so they're not. Is it Greco and freestyle kind of mixed, or
No, it's
what
its
is
own
it?
rules. It's basically junior high. When you grew up, it was junior high and high school wrestling.
Yeah.
That's folk style.
That's folk style.
Yeah, their
Okay.
rules are separate from the Olympic style of wrestling, Greco and freestyle, because on the world level, Russia and all these other countries,
Yeah.
they don't want their wrestling to look like folk style because we wrestle it all year long. Everybody's is raising it, so they changed the rules to make it more. How should I put it? To put us at a disadvantage, so that way. When we get to those upper levels, we have to kind of retrain ourselves because we wrestle folk style, collegiate all the time, and it gives them a little bit of advantage because here in the U.S. we wrestle folk style all year long, and so if they made, the rules are like that, we'd be pretty dominant at the world level. So to be competitive, they kind of changed the rules a little bit, so it doesn't
Twist
even
and
really.
turns.
Yeah.
Little twist and
Since
turns.
I started wrestling when I was a kid, it was real similar to folk style, collegiate,
Yeah.
freestyle, and all that were real similar. Now they don't look anything alike.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now I heard you say something about an app. You guys have what is it? Selma Wrestling app?
We have a team app, and so if you download on your phone and search Team Selma, you'll find us, and that's where we post information about tournaments and schedule, and that's how
Training
you
times and things like
Tournament
that.
Schedule.
results,
Yeah.
anything you want to know about what's going on in the program, upcoming fundraisers, how to get in touch with coaches.
Do you guys have any
Practice
fundraisers coming up?
schedules. Fundraisers coming up? Not at the moment.
We're right now, the youth has just finished their season, so the first week of June was their state tournament, and then so we're right now in our summer program where it's kind of like weightlifting and conditioning. So we're really not focused on anything yet. We just kind of
When does the main season start for wrestling?
November.
Probably November. Yeah, November.
November is when we start,
November.
getting back in there, full practice schedule, start going to,
So not to cut you off, but when they're in conditioning, are you guys still wrestling technique and all that, or is it just you're getting stronger and cardio and all that
A little
stuff?
bit of both. A little bit of both. A little more physical training, but with just a little bit of light drilling and wrestling. More fun. More
we
fun.
started a new summer program, thanks to, is it Wrestling Mart?
California USA Wrestling and Wrestling Mart put together a summer fitness program, and it's
Okay.
kind of a scholarship too, because the kids will benefit. They'll get credit through Wrestling Mart,
Be able to
and
get
so
some
hopefully the
gear.
club will also benefit from it.
And
But
it's
it's-
designed to
that's
get those
good.
kids
Yeah.
Off the
off
couch.
the tablets, a little bit of training, a little bit of wrestling, having a little bit of fun.
That's cool. How many kids have you guys got in there right now?
Like 28. We had 28 on Monday, the first day of practice.
Is it a handful or what?
Yeah, I didn't expect that many.
Yeah, he thought he was
but-
like, I think, because all we happened to have 15, he ended up getting like double that.
Yeah.
It's fun though, right, working with kids?
Oh, yeah.
I love it, man. I love teaching kids. That's great, man. You guys got some gun-ho parents that go in there?
Yeah.
Some of the super dads?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's
Super
the best.
coaches?
That's the best.
More than
That's the
Yeah.
those programs.
best. Yeah.
Well, in wrestling, they're probably dads that have wrestled themselves.
A lot of them have. In this town, a lot of them have.
Yeah.
Do you know Juan Pato? He trains with the KO Kids Wrestling in Farmersville.
Juan Jimenez.
Farmersville?
Juan Jimenez.
Oh, yeah, I know. No, Paul. It's a Paul Heyman.
Paul
Jimenez is
Paul's the other
that's the
one
other Paul.
from Vitruvian and does wrestling.
Oh,
things,
okay.
Do they all compete together or what?
Oh, we see
Yeah,
everybody.
It's
Yeah,
everybody. You
They
know.
have a thing. It's a kids program, KO Kids Wrestling.
Yeah, there was
I've seen-
kids in
I've seen
Farmersville, but Farmersville
Yeah.
Boys Club has
I
their
think
own too.
Porterville, right?
Oh, okay.
Jim Vanny's club does it. So, well, I mean, just like any other sport, you start to realize who's a hammer out there, who's,
Yeah.
you know, you start taking names. You know,
Yeah.
a team starts coming up, and then you start
Start
seeing their
seeing
group
the one that
growing,
stands
and
out the most
their
out of
techniques
that
start
kid.
getting
That's
better.
what
So
we
you
look
start
for.
taking names, and since we've been around forever, I mean, everybody seems like a threat to us. But
Do you see some other teams around here in the valley that are pretty good, that are up there?
Oh, there's tons. There's tons of good
Who would you
teams.
say, but next to you guys, you know?
well,
Of course, Selma's the best.
I want to give a shout out to Sergio Montoya and Red Wave Wrestling.
Yeah.
They've
Red
kept us
Wave?
on our toes.
Fresno, Clovis,
Yeah.
Red Wave,
Clovis
Yeah.
West has always had great wrestling, right?
all those Clovis schools. All
Yeah.
Clovis schools.
They
All
got,
Clovis.
All
they got
Clovis.
funding, man.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that these schools that they put more funding into the other sports?
Look at their
Like
football
and
program.
baseball
You,
and
any those programs over there, the school district,
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Well, the
man,
reason there's
you
just,
know?
it goes back to what we were talking about before. The reason that the Clovis schools are so competitive is when they established their wrestling to begin with, it was only one or two schools. I think Clovis High was the only school at the time, and then Clovis West, and then kind of
Yeah.
Clovis North and all these. Well, originally, they were the only district that had elementary wrestling from 4th through 6th. And I was telling you, earlier I was telling them that we started the youth so we can start our guys younger because we don't have an elementary program.
Oh, yeah.
So, but in this program, you can start at age 5 on up. Over there, you can only start in 4th grade, but even they're starting earlier now because they're starting to realize everybody's
Yeah.
catching up, everybody's
Right.
competitive because of these youth clubs. We call
Have
them
you
super
had,
clubs.
guys had kids from 5 or that young that have worked, you've trained with them all the way up
Joey
to
Cruz.
the teenage?
Joey
Yeah,
Cruz
I
is a
remember
perfect
Joey
example.
was
Oh,
so
yeah?
young. He was so little when he walked in our
He
door.
was probably 4 years old when he
Yeah,
started.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you had to tie his shoes for him. You know what I mean? There's kids like that where they,
Oh, wow.
you know, they're that little.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was highly entertained watching those two wrestle. I'm gonna have to go back. Is there some like some classic matches that I could look up, check out?
I think that's the only time
They
They've met
wrestled
recently.
on camera
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that level.
Yeah.
We've seen them compete at little local tournaments, and we were talking about venturing off and getting competition. Luckily, here in the Central Valley, this is the melting pot of wrestling. It's the best.
hotbed. It's a
It is the
hotbed from
best.
Bakersfield to
Really?
to
How do we
Fresno.
fare in the United States?
I mean, this is the best.
This is
Oh, well,
one
you
of-
look
one
at
of
the,
yeah,
you
one of
look
the
in the
best sections.
rankings,
Yeah,
you
this
look
is
at
one
the
of the
rankings,
best.
you
One
see
of the
that
best
in there.
sections.
I took time and looked
Central
last week,
Valley.
and I was like, right on, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
I mean, all the top schools, you look at the rankings, and the most high schools are concentrated
wanna
out of this
say-
area.
I want to say in the top 10 teams in the state championships, 5 or 6 of them were from the central section.
It's
in
that
the
Hanford
country
water leaking
rankings.
into the rest of the water. We'll sell you the
I don't
water,
know,
guys.
man. This is like a live Rappler's Quest, man.
Right,
You know,
right.
like that movie, always, that's,
Yeah.
you know, no iron worker dads or steel worker dads, but still, a lot of dads are out there busting their ass.
We call this,
you know.
who was it? I believe one of the coaches from Clovis one time referred to Selma as the wrestling town. This is the wrestling town.
And when we talk about
Yeah.
traveling, we're
Yeah.
fortunate because we don't have to travel
We don't
that
have to
far.
travel
Right.
so
Or
much, you
competition.
know.
That come to you.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
go to a local tournament and meet up with a national champ pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know, or you could come to the New Year's Bash wrestling tournament and be a well-known guy and get beat by some local kid who showed up from Porterville, Tulare or
crazy.
something
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
it's
That was
tough.
They're
awesome.
like, Porterville? Where's that?
Yeah, so.
So if
Wow.
you guys welcome in people from like, say if there's a kid out there that wants, you know, a dad that wants to bring his son in from Tulare or Visalia or something like that, just to get some rolls in, you guys are cool with it?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. We encourage different people to come and try out practices, or just
Yeah.
to even come and train for a day because we like, wrestling's so spontaneous out there. You don't know what's going to happen. It's good to get a little bit different competition and people to come in.
Different looks,
Yeah,
different
yeah,
bodies.
Exactly.
I like to invite friends during like big tournaments, like when we start prepping, we call them camps, like we'll start increasing practices, and then I like to invite some of my friends in and say, hey, for Reno World Tournament, we're going 6 days a week, bring your kid, because some of those dads their programs are only getting 2 or 3 days of practice, and they're looking for that, that increased training.
1 or 2 extra days.
Yeah, so.
I always see it as growing the sport. Not a lot of clubs out there, so by
Yeah.
offering this, and it's growing the sport and helping more people, not just.
So would you say it's a train with everyone concept? Train with everyone to get better?
Yeah, it always says
I
iron
like-
sharpens iron.
Yeah. But like you said, different looks, different feels, I mean, to get different people in here, sometimes when you're practicing with the same people over and over,
Right.
it gets monotonous.
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you don't want to try new
Stagnant,
things. Yeah. You don't want to try new things. You get stale. And so you get somebody in there and starts doing something different.
Kinda
you
gauge your level
yeah,
where
it
you're
brings you
at,
up
yeah.
again, makes you more energetic. You want to go harder.
So these guys keep you guys young too? Are you out there wrestling on the mat with them too, with these young kids?
Just very little because we're big and they're little. They said, "How come you don't get out there?" I'm not little anymore.
Right. That's cool, man.
Fall on a 70-pound kid.
Yeah. So since this is an MMA podcast, I always ask everybody, from different arts, but who do you think in MMA has applied wrestling the best? Think about it for a second.
Current or past?
All in all, because wrestling has definitely played a huge part in the evolution of MMA. I mean, in my mind, Randy Couture is one of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
Randy.
just the clinch game and the underhooks. I mean, it's such a people think it's boring or whatever when you see people pummeling or hugging. Super important in fighting, right? Being able to control. So who do you guys see that has really applied wrestling well?
There's a few in my book. Dan Henderson. I went to the national camp.
Definitely.
He was a California state runner-up. He placed second in the state when they held it here in Fresno. The one and only time that I remember it was held in Fresno. Dan Henderson.
That man's a national legend, right there,
made the
national
Greco-
treasure,
made the-
right
made
there.
the Greco-Roman national Olympic team. Stud. There's a few with it. Bones Jones.
Yeah,
Bones Jones.
yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know. From what I read, he was like a 2-time national
Yes.
JC champion.
Yep.
And he had a full scholarship to Iowa before he got into MMA.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you don't know his background. He's like a
No,
great
yeah.
wrestler before he even started MMA.
He's tremendous.
Yeah.
He's really tremendous.
And,
Tito did some JC
Yep.
wrestling too.
Yeah.
Tito Ortiz.
And Tito, he was like one of the first guys to apply
Yeah.
just the basics. Well, I mean,
Ground
I'm
and
calling it
pound,
the basics,
man.
but yeah, double leg you to the fence,
Yeah.
and you ain't
Take
getting
you
up.
down.
I know everybody thinks he was big and everything like that, but he was a stud too in college, even though he was huge. Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He was a good wrestler.
Yeah,
When
you
he
look-
applied
you know.
that to his MMA, he was a beast.
Everybody
Once
thought-
he's trying to box,
Everybody
man,
thought he
jeez.
was, he's WWF. I go, man, that guy was an NCAA runner-up
Yeah,
before
that
he
guy's an
started,
animal.
any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Kane too. Kane.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle, I mean, everybody thinks, Kurt Angle's just fake. I go, dude, that guy won
No,
a
he was
real,
amazing.
he won a
Yeah.
real gold and real
Right.
wrestling
Right.
before he got into,
Yeah, he's really something else.
know.
The one guy I've been following since he was little out of Hanford, Chad Mendez.
Yep, Chad Mendez, man.
Yeah.
No joke,
Yeah.
right there either. Have you guys ever worked with him?
No, we used to watch him. We used to, one of the old coaches, his little brother used to wrestle him all the time. Ollie, he wrestled Chad like 2 or 3 times
yeah.
in high school.
I used to work out with them, him and Stephen Juarez and a couple other Hanford
Yeah.
guys when I was still competing. They used to come into our JC room and roll around. I remember they were little rugrats, but they were they
Did
were
Chad
tough,
Mendez
tough
make
as
it
nails.
pretty high in wrestling?
Yeah, he took second at the NCAA tournament.
Out of Cal Poly.
And yeah,
Cal Poly.
good career, high school and
Solid
college
wrestler,
career.
solid.
So,
And we had a kid that did really good when we first started this amateur MMA deal. I was on the ground floor with the up and comers and stuff, and out of Tulare, Galen Williams.
Oh,
and
yeah?
his family, they're all wrestlers, and he was one of the first I seen at that level. He was his wrestling. He was the first 135-pound amateur champ, and then he went to the service. He's still in the service.
Don't forget, second in the state, TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah,
He's-
well, they
I watched him- I
wrestled
watched him
against
wrestle in the
against
state
each
final.
other.
I watched him wrestle in the
Dillashaw,
state
Cal
final
State
when he was in high
Fullerton.
school.
yeah.
Yeah, he does something that I've seen in a couple of his last fights where he's on a level right now where he's mixing in the strikes with the level change and the and like a lasso
He's
type of a
evolved a
deal.
lot.
Watch his last couple
He evolved
fights,
a
the
lot.
takedowns that he does. It's amazing. He's really good at setting it up with the strikes. But
And then
well,
right here in Fresno, they got Ed Ruth now.
yeah,
Oh, I
Ruth,
know, that guy's
Ed
an
Ruth.
animal.
He was
Yeah.
3-time NCAA champion for
Yeah,
Penn
Matt
State.
shouting out Matt Hughes.
Yeah, Matt
Yeah,
Hughes.
Matt Hughes, that
Definitely.
guy was like,
Matt Hughes is amazing, man.
I'm
We can go on and
I'm
on.
gonna throw.
We can definitely go on.
I'm gonna
and
throw a
on.
newcomer, Alex Perez, out of
Yeah.
Lemoore.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy only utilizes wrestling. Barely learning how to
I
strike
know,
there, Alex.
right?
Come on.
there you go.
I watched
That's true, man. That
I
kid's
watched 85%
weathered the
of his
storm,
matches,
man.
you know?
and
What
he's
about
doing good?
Justin Gaethje in wrestling? Did you guys ever? Because he only stands up and bangs, but they say he's a really good wrestler. Like,
Yeah, I think he was a collegiate wrestler too.
so, yeah.
Where's he out of? Where's he out of?
What
I'm
area?
not sure. Back east somewhere, right?
Back east.
Yeah.
But while we're on this subject, we've been talking about the last few podcasts with the weight cutting deal. You know what I mean? And everybody's not making weight in the UFC, and
Shame on them.
it is a shame. Like, what do you guys think about it? Because I've seen and worked with a lot of wrestlers, and wrestlers can get that weight off.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute it to? Just having done it?
That's a delicate subject because lately high school wrestling has made a lot of attempts to try to prevent
Yes.
excessive
yes.
cutting
Discourage
weight.
it, discourage
And-
it.
Is it a misconception? Because a lot of people think, oh, wrestlers, they cut all this weight. You know what I mean? I've heard that college wrestlers,
I feel like it's a misconception because people think that you have to starve to cut weight, but nowadays science has gotten involved and there's been a lot more studying and there's a proper way to weight cut and weight loss. But excessive weight loss and what we're seeing at the UFC level, it's a problem. You know, I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's a
been a big
problem.
problem.
Ish was talking about, he was giving some examples. I'd like to hear him touch on that. But excessive weight cutting compared to what MMA fighters are doing compared to high school wrestling is a little bit different. You know, and in high school we're cutting weight, we're making weight
do you weigh
every
in the same
weekend.
day on at wrestling? Or is it the day before weigh-in?
Day before weigh-ins.
Usually, like in the high school season,
Oh,
is
morning.
probably the most consistent weighing in because you're doing it from the November to March, and
You're
it's the most
weighing in
You're weighing in probably
the
twice.
morning
You're
of your
weighing in-
competition.
You're weighing in
Okay.
that morning for the competition because it's usually a 2-day tournament. So you weigh in that Friday and then that night too. So you got to kind of maintain it. They used to allow them to weigh in once, but to be fair,
Yeah.
because those guys can gain like 10, 15 pounds.
Right.
They said they have them do it at night, and they got to be within. They give you like a 2-pound allowance, or some maybe even 1. So you got to make it that night, and then you can get as fat as you want on the next day. But they don't usually do that because
Right,
you get
right.
sluggish
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
So you know they usually hover around a certain weight.
How do you guys do with what do you guys tell your students when it comes to cutting weight?
Well,
Is it better just to be at?
my nephew's wrestled. He wrestled 115s this whole entire year, and right now he's still maintaining it since the season. And because he's going to go to the nationals, Tristan's going to go to the nationals,
Fargo.
and he's been maintaining that. And I told him, I said, listen, what you got to do is you got to take at least a week and a half, and what you got to do is basically you got to eat more quality food, more protein.
Right.
You want to eat. You want to cut out the chips and soda, stuff like that. You want
Crap.
to eat more protein. You want to eat your salads, your greens. But here's the kicker. And this is true. Let's say you get a small portion of chicken. And you can eat as much salad as you want. I don't
Right,
care.
right.
Stuff your face, and I guarantee that won't put any weight on you.
No.
But nobody wants to eat the good stuff. They want to eat whatever they want to make
Yeah,
them
yeah,
feel
right.
full.
Full,
To
yeah.
make them feel full. And then a lot of times they don't diet correctly. They're eating chips or they're drinking Gatorade. See, I tell them
Soda,
knock out all the
yeah.
sugar. Knock out all the sugar. Drink water. If you want, drink the electrolyte water so you can keep your electrolytes in there. Eat as much salad as you want to make you feel full. Eat your little protein, but don't get all crazy. Usually they tell you like a fist portion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But do it in advance. I mean, start your diet on Wednesday if you're gonna make weight for a big tournament like the Nationals and stuff. Do it a week and a half in advance. You don't want to wait till the last day. Like I was watching one of the proper trainers, popular trainers, the Dolce diet.
Yeah, Mike Dolce.
That guy's phenomenal. Have you ever seen?
Yes.
I mean, he does it the right way.
You
That
you
guy's-
agree with him?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, he's smart.
And he shows you the simplest ways to do it, and,
And it's
and they're
good
very
food, too.
nutritious. Yeah, and it's
Good food.
nutritious.
It looks good.
I mean,
It's
but
pretty
you don't
damn
have
good.
to starve yourself. You don't have, and it's quick. He's like, here, just throw this together, throw that together, boom. And he's right. If you eat little portions throughout the day, you'll burn it quicker. You'll stay full. You won't lose all those. You won't be drained and all that. The problem is these guys wait till the last minute.
And what about
then
the
you wanna
amount of weight
deplete
that they
water
cut?
weight?
Because like Max Holloway, he's walking around at 185 and fighting at 155. So is that a crazy amount of weight to cut?
It depends
on how long you're cutting it.
It depends on his body fat ratio and stuff like that. Like if you see a guy like this walking around, he's all chubby. And
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
Like that. But if you see a guy who's cut, sometimes I look at him, they're cut, and I said,
How's
I
he
don't
gonna
know,
get that?
how's he gonna make that? I don't know if there's any fat on his body to lose that weight, So, but I'm not the doctor. I don't take his body fat percentage and say, oh,
Right.
you're at 10%. You can get down to 5, 6, and still be competitive, and that's about 10 pounds. You know what I mean? I don't know that. I don't know the ratio, but I do know this. How can I tell if my guy's hurting or whatever?
Yeah.
Is by how he's training. If his energy levels,
You can see it pretty quick.
skyrocketing, he's still doing good and he's losing that weight, that's fine. But if he's out there and he's sluggish and all that, I'm just like, hey, dude.
Do you recommend him just to go into the next weight class up?
If they're consistently not making weight, yeah.
But if they're already going, like say they made it to the nationals, they're at that weight, they gotta be at that weight, right? When they go to
Right.
the
Once you
nationals.
qualify, that's it.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
it,
yeah,
okay.
you're locked in.
That's why I tell him, you gotta, like my nephew, he's on a plan. He's all like, this is how much I can eat. I can do this if I start running now. I can do
Discipline
that.
is a
Yeah,
big deal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what that's the word,
That's a big
discipline.
deal.
They're giving growth allowance during the season too.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
They add a pound
They give you weight, yeah, they
Is that young
add
kids
pounds to
like
your weight
each
class.
Oh, okay.
month. Yeah, January,
But,
February.
At the youth level, there's just a lack of knowledge, and we see like he said, the sluggish kid come in. It's that just means that parent is not giving them enough calories to.
You
go out
see a
there
lot
and
of parents
perform.
pushing their kids to get that weight down, because a lot of people blame it on
Oh yeah,
coaches.
oh yeah.
I've heard
It's-
so many times that,
it's-
the coach gets them, they want them to be down at a certain weight or whatever,
A
but
lot of that comes from the parents.
Yeah, like we don't
coaches-
encourage that.
Coaches always want to make a good lineup and to be competitive and to have the kid at his best. But parents sometimes feel like we have to make a certain weight to be competitive. I get stuck in that. I got 2 kids that compete, and I feel a little bit of pressure,
Yeah.
sometimes where I feel like, all right, this is, we went this way, but these guys are giant compared to those guys. So, but if you don't know what you're doing, we have a good situation. In our household, like everything is really watched as far as like proteins and calories, and there's a lot of things that are played into it. And my kids do a good job cutting weight, but it's because there's a lot of knowledge. It's years and years built up of consistent information from the people that are shoulder to shoulder with me. So
I've heard different things on what amount of weight is healthy. I'm sure it's probably different with everybody, but what do you feel?
everybody's different. Every
Just that way.
kid is different.
Exactly. I mean, you
Some
can't
kids can
say-
tolerate it.
Yeah, some kids they have that willpower and they compete good, they diet hard and they just compete good. But it's on the individual. Like I said, you have to watch it. Like if I was a trainer, I have to watch my fighter. If I see he's cutting weight and something's going wrong, his energy levels drop, I'm gonna say, hey, we're gonna have to change your diet or do something different, because it's not working out. But the biggest misconception though is the water weight. You got about 15 pounds of water in your system, and what happens is guys they said, oh, I've cut as much as I can cut. Now it's time to just drain, just put on the sweat bag and just put on the plastic bag and run. And they want to sweat that water weight out.
That's not good.
That's not good. That's what dehydrates you. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're within 1 to 2, 3 pounds, okay, water weight's fine.
That's one thing.
Yeah, but if you're losing 10, 12
Yeah,
pounds of water
that's
weight,
what's happening.
you're in
That's what's
deep-
going
you're
on
in
right
deep-
now.
That's where people are passing out and they're having to give them IVs and stuff like that.
You see
Now
these
you're
guys
getting
walk
dangerous
off the
territory.
scale, sometimes they're having to be carried off the
They're
scale.
not walking off the scale.
How good
one
could
we
it be?
did.
Exactly,
How good could it
exactly.
be? Because
Exactly.
they were letting them IV up after the weigh-in, but now they took that away.
Yeah.
So,
Because they
yeah, that's
shouldn't
crazy.
be to that extent, I tell the
No.
guys, listen, I said, if you're going to cut water weight, I want you within 1 to 2, 3 pounds. And I go, you're even going to feel it there. But that's okay. But if they're like, I'm 10 pounds over, I'm going to sweat it out. No, you're not, dude.
No,
You're
it's
going
not
up to the
good.
next weight. You're not going to do that.
That's good to hear. That's really good
In
to
high
hear.
school
Yeah,
now
that
too,
makes
they
a lot
do
of
a
sense.
hydration test that tells how
Oh, do
low.
they?
Yeah, right.
Good, that's good, man.
It's all
They can
about
only go.
safety.
But the whole thing on that is you still got to do it properly. Because if you wait till that last day to try to do it, that water weight,
Not gonna
you're
work
gonna
out
you're
good.
gonna lose the weight, but you're gonna be like you could pass out on us. Go to cardiac arrest or something.
We don't want that.
No,
We don't want
definitely
that.
don't want that.
So if you guys have learned anything from today's podcast, guys, discipline. And that's not just with
Yeah.
wrestling or MMA, that's with life. That is with life. We're getting close to the end here. You guys want to give a shout out to any of your wrestlers out there?
Anything, yeah.
I want to give a
Anybody
shout out.
want
I don't want to murder her name again. Alita, is that you?
Aleda
Aleda,
Martinez.
you're awesome. And Richard
Yeah.
Figueroa.
Yeah.
Really something else, man. I was really entertained today. Me and my nephew sat back and watched some matches. I just want to say congratulations to you wrestlers and to you guys. I really applaud you guys for what you do, man. It's really working with kids, and you guys aren't collecting a check or anything like that. You know what I mean? And we need sponsors, guys. It's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
You can sponsor these guys.
We got our number.
It's a tax write-off, man. And you're doing a good thing. And man, we know a lot of people out there that can. We'll see if we can get some help to it. I know Chris has lots of
Yeah,
connections.
and that's it, man. It's about the kids, about the youth, about doing something positive. These guys are investing some good quality time in the youth. There's a lot of kids that are documented through the legacy of these guys and before even them. So it's something I think to invest, especially where what we live and what we see every day on the news, man, and it's not good about what the kids are doing.
No, it's crazy.
These kids are doing good, and we don't hear anything about it.
Right.
So that's what we're about. That's probably about the end of what we have for tonight. Next week, we're going to have the project. Jeremy 559 is going to be in the house.
Right.
And so join us. Appreciate the time. Thanks a lot, folks.
Have a good night, guys.
All right,
Awesome,
guys,
man.
that's cool.
Very good.
Awesome.
Goes by quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, man. You get into that's why I said a lot of times people, God, what am I going to talk about? I feel weird to imitate. It's like, no, we're just going to be chopping it up, man. You guys tell us, and that's what it should be.
There's a
I-
lot of information right here with
You guys are really good. Really good.